After 2 days in court, the capital murder trial of Dennis Daniel now finally has a jury. Daniel is charged with 4 felonies, including the murder of 30-year-old Courtney Service while in the commission of a robbery. Service disappeared in December of last year. Her body was found on Christmas Eve. Ashley Singh is live in Danville. And Ashley, 2 days to seat the jury?
Len, Judge Charles Strauss said this was the longest process they've ever had for jury selection. Even in other capital murder cases, he says it's never taken this long. The trial is scheduled for 7 days. 2 of those days are over. If convicted of capital murder, Daniel could face the death penalty. Attorneys on both sides questioned potential jurors at length about their views on capital punishment. Today, 26 potential jurors were qualified. 14 of them were seated for trial. Out of those, 2 will be alternates. Daniel maintains that he is not guilty for the murder of Courtney Service. Service was married with 3 children before she disappeared. Attorneys say the 2 were romantically involved. Daniel was the last person seen with Service before she went missing. Tomorrow, both sides will give their opening statements and the Commonwealth will present its evidence. Stay with us. We'll keep you posted on this trial. Live in Danville, Ashley Singh, ABC 13 News.
Defense attorneys admit their client, Dennis Daniel, killed Courtney Service, but they say he should not be charged with capital murder. Daniel is accused of murdering Service while in commission of a robbery. Testimony started today in his trial. Ashley Singh is live in our Danville studio, and Ashley, a whole lot was revealed in court today. We know the 2 met during their time at Southern Virginia Mental Health Institute in September of last year.
Right, Len. The 2 continued their relationship until it came to a violent end. The defense says Daniel admits to beating Service to death. His attorney says his acts were mean and deliberate, but maintains he shouldn't be charged with capital murder. Stephen Service says he and his wife Courtney had been on shaky ground months before her disappearance.
I mean, the trust factor was totally gone for what had happened.
He says things were getting better. The 2 were trying to work things out. What he didn't realize was that his wife was still having an affair with Daniel. While Daniel was in jail on charges unrelated to the case, 2 conversations were recorded between the couple. In the first, he admits to cheating on her with his sister-in-law.
I regret it. That's my brother's wife.
In the second, Service admits to cheating on Daniel with his 22-year-old son.
Are we even?
No.
Why is that? So why is that? Why is it okay for you and not okay for me?
That's my son, you
Later in the conversation,
You know what? I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to ruin you. I want you to know that. I'm going to ruin you.
Why would you do that?
I'm going to see that you lose every thing that you got. And we'll be even, okay?
right after that, Daniel tells her he won't really do that. The day she vanished, the 2 were seen together.
She had a rag, a towel or something covering her face when I first seen her. The more I watched the car, she pulled the thing down and I noticed that her face had blood on it.
When I pulled up, he had some blood on his face and a little on his pants, and I asked him, did he have a wreck or something? And he said he'd hit a deer.
Attorneys say Daniel didn't hit a deer, he hit Service and killed her. Commonwealth's attorney David Grimes says every bone in Service's face was broken and that she was hidden underneath a pile of wood. The prosecution will continue presenting its evidence tomorrow. Live in Danville, Ashley Singh, ABC 13 News.
And we will keep following that case for you. I'm Len Stevens. Thank you for joining us for 13 News at 7. The Commonwealth provided more evidence today in the capital murder trial of Dennis Daniel. Defense attorneys admit their client killed Courtney Service, but they argue he should not be charged with capital murder. Ashley Singh was in the courtroom, and Ashley, is not the murder, but another crime that's in question here.
Len, for Daniel to be charged with capital murder, the Commonwealth will need to prove to the jury that he killed Service while committing a robbery. It's that violent felony that makes this a capital case. The day Courtney Service vanished, Dennis Daniel called his longtime girlfriend, Angela Garrett, and told her he'd been in a fight at her home.
That he'd been doing things that I didn't know about while we were broke up, and that somehow this man had followed him or found him or something and came into the house because the front door was open.
She says Daniel told her not to worry and not to call police, but when she got home and saw the mess, she called 911.
There was blood and hair, shelves off the wall, stuff like that. You could tell there had been like a scuffle.
5 days after Service disappeared, police found her body. A few months ago, Daniel asked to speak with an investigator.
What's your name?
Defense attorneys say in that conversation, Daniel asks for the death penalty. But his attorneys argue he's not eligible for death because they say the murder didn't happen in the commission of another violent felony, in this case, a robbery.
There has been nothing that I've been able to glean from the evidence that would say he had any intent to take anything from Ms. Servais other than her life.
Commonwealth's attorney David Grimes argues otherwise. He says Daniel threatened to take everything she had. Tomorrow, the defense will present their evidence. Live in Danville, Ashley Singh, ABC 13.
Facing a capital murder charge, Dennis Daniel took the stand in a Pittsylvania County courthouse today. Daniel is charged with murdering Courtney Service while in commission of a robbery in December of last year. Ashley Singh was in court, and Ashley, he gave his version today of what happened and what went wrong the day he admits he killed her.
Daniel says Service made a comment that made him snap. He says that's when he went into a violent rage. He maintains he had no plans to kill her, but still he says he deserves to be put to death. Dennis Daniel and Courtney Service started their affair at the Southern Virginia Mental Health Institute.
Our original plan was to be together by April the 16th. I was going to leave Angie, she was going to leave Stephen.
Instead, the two cheated on each other, Daniel with his sister-in-law, Service with Daniel's 22-year-old son.
If she would have slept with you, that would be one thing. She slept with my son.
Daniel says Service showed up at his girlfriend Angela Garrett's house on December 19th while Garrett was at work. He says the two were having a good time until she said something about his son.
He didn't have manly ways as I do, as far as handling things, more or less. More or less was a compliment, and I think that's what she meant it by. But when that was said, I snapped.
Daniel says he wanted to make her suffer.
I put fear into her. I taped her legs. I taped her hands.
He says he cut her hair, strangled her with a belt, and beat her. Then he says they got in the car and ended up at Red Oak Hollow.
I sit there and I hit that girl in the head. I was watching her chest move up and down, okay? I hit that girl in the head and I watched her breath stop. All right? That was not intentional. It was not planned, but that's what I done. I watched that girl stop breathing.
The jury has yet to decide whether Daniel will be found guilty of capital murder, but Daniel says he knows what he wants.
You and I want the same thing for me. You know, I want the death penalty. You want the death penalty. That's something that I'm working with you with.
Both sides will present their closing arguments on Monday, then the case will go to the jury. If they find him guilty of capital murder, the jury will then decide whether Daniel should face life in prison without parole or the death penalty. Live in Danville, Ashley Singh, ABC 13 News.
7. Dennis Daniel is going to spend the rest of his life in prison for murdering Courtney Service last December. Judge Charles Strauss reduced the capital charge to first-degree murder in Pittsylvania County Court this morning. And when he did that, several of Service's family members stormed out. It took the jury 2.5 hours to convict Daniel of first-degree murder. Ashley Singh is live in Danville. And Ashley, it was a tense day in the courtroom. It
was, Len. Service's family members were hoping Daniel would face the death penalty, but they say this is the next best thing.
One of the issues here today is whether this is a capital murder or whether it is a murder.
Dennis Daniel faced a capital murder charge, killing Courtney Service while committing a robbery. But Judge Charles Strauss said there wasn't enough evidence to support that Daniel's intention was to rob Service.
The court is going to strike the capital charge. It will be a first-degree murder.
Service's dad, Lawrence Turpin, wishes the jury could have made that decision.
Dennis escaped the death penalty, but our family did not.
He says there are many things he wishes he could have told her.
He pulled her face up to me, that face that you see, and kissed her and told her how much her daddy still loved her. I'm never going to get a chance to do that.
Blair Turpin says because of Daniel, her sister will miss many important events in her life.
She will not be my maid of honor at my wedding. She will not be in a delivery room when I have kids.
She says now she carries a sadness with her that no one can fix.
My daddy can fix everything. always what my sister and I said, he can fix everything. He can't fix this.
Service's family says this has been such a difficult year.
How do you explain to 3 small children why their mother is never coming home again? How do you keep a small child from forgetting her mother altogether?
Daniel faces 3 life terms plus a $100,000 fine. After sentencing, Daniel spoke briefly, saying the ruling did not go the way he wanted. He says he wanted the death penalty. He also said he was going to try to be a better person and that he loved service. Live in Danville, Ashley Singh, ABC 13.
The family of Courtney Service spoke out today about the man who murdered her last year. A jury convicted Dennis Daniel of first-degree murder yesterday after the judge removed the capital murder charge. Daniel will spend the rest of his life in prison. The trial is over, but the family says their pain will never end. Ashley Singh sat down with him today, and Ashley, the family says investigators, the Commonwealth's attorney, they all did everything they could.
Right, Len. Service's parents were hoping Daniel would get the death penalty. They say at least he got the maximum punishment for first-degree murder. Still, they say that's nothing compared to what their daughter had to go through. It was a slow and painful trial for the family of Courtney Service.
It's just like reliving it all over again, and I guess in some ways it was harder.
It's definitely reopened a wound that you somewhat shut.
You learn things you didn't know before, and some of those details hurt very, very bad.
Details like how Service died, one of the most difficult parts of the trial, listening to Dennis Daniel testify.
I sit there and I hit that girl in the head. I was watching her chest move up and down, okay? I hit that girl in the head and I watched her breath stop. All right? That was not intentional. That was, it was not planned, but that's what I done. I watched that girl stop breathing.
The way that he tortured her so bad, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine anybody being tortured like she was for hours on end.
Service's family wasn't expecting the judge to reduce the capital charge. They're disappointed Daniel didn't get the death penalty.
I don't think Dennis deserves the air that he breathes. He needs to be treated the way that he treated her.
They say justice wasn't served. The only thing that gives them any comfort is knowing that one day they'll see her again.
In due time, we'll have a chance to sit down and talk again.
I love you, Courtney, and I miss you. I'll see you one day soon.
Daniel was sentenced to 3 life terms and a $100,000 fine. Service's family says they hope one day Daniel will feel true remorse for what he did. Live in Danville, Ashley Singh, ABC 13 News.